Good morning, Westie lovers. Here we are, another episode for our Westies and Besties podcast. Today we're joined by the lovely Clare Palmer. Clare is a very busy lady, so we're lucky to have her here today. So Clare runs her own dog walking business. She also, I think you're the founder of Southeast Westie Walks. Is that right, Clare?
I'm not, but I did start the Littlehampton Westie Wiggle. So the twice a year Westie walk at Littlehampton, which is my hometown. But no, I can't take credit for starting Southeast Westie Walkers. That was the lovely Sue Makepeace, I believe.
Oh, okay. So you just help Sue out on occasion, is it?
Yeah, I suggested to her that maybe there's an opportunity to do the walk in Littlehampton, and she said yes, go for it. So that's how that started, which I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Fab. So you've got the Littlehampton walk coming up in September, I believe, haven't you?
Yes, yeah.
So tell us about that. When did that start? How many Westies do you have turning up every time?
Well, it's grown legs, to be fair. About 3.5 years ago, I had said to Sue Makepeace of the Westie Advice Group, I'm sure everybody knows who Sue is. We are friends. We've become friends again because of our Westies and the help that I've received previously from the group. And yeah, the start of 2022, I sort of thought actually there might be an opportunity to organise a Westie walk in Littlehampton, which is our hometown down here in West Sussex on the south coast.
Lovely.
Myself and my first Westie, Pixie, had attended a couple up in Kent before, which is a couple of hour drive away. We'd also been to one at West Wittering, which is near Chichester, which I hadn't organised. This is way back 8 or so years ago. And I know my town really well, actually. And then I started to think maybe there's an opportunity to hold one here. It is quite central on the south coast, so it sort of made sense as long as you've got good parking and it's easy to find. There's a decent enough walk for maybe an hour and a half, and there's a cafe. Obviously, everybody wants coffee and cake before and after. That's a good incentive for people to come, if nothing else.
That's right.
So, Littlehampton has all of those things. It's got a wonderful beach. It is tidal, so the dates and the times are totally dictated by the tide. So you have to find a weekend day where it's low enough tide where people are coming for 2 hours potentially, and we've got enough sand to be able to walk on for a good hour and a half or so, because the tide comes in and out every 6 hours. So it's a lot of it is a little bit of science involved, and I don't make the decision necessarily on what day and time we do. So it's a little bit of thought that has to go into it, and I always make sure that I've got the Tide Times booklet for the whole year, which sounds really nerdy, but you've got literally every single tide time for every single day of the whole year for a couple of pounds. I always make sure I've got that in my back pocket before I plan the walk. It has grown legs, so we started it in 2022. We've done April and November that year. We did April and September in 23, April and September last year, and then April this year. So this upcoming one will be the 8th one. I can't really remember how many we had back in 2022. I know that November 22 was horrific weather. It was like a monsoon on the beach. So it was memorable for all the wrong reasons. Nobody really was able to have a chat, and a couple of people actually said they drove home wearing a towel rather than their clothes because they were so wet through. But again, you're walking on the beach in British weather, so you're never quite sure what it's going to be like.
That's right.
But April last year was probably, I think, the most successful one. We had 59 Westies turn up.
Wow.
And a guy turned up with a drone as well. The weather was fabulous, so he filmed us going along the beach. It was such a buzz. We take photos sort of just before we turn round on the beach. So we all lined up along the breakwater, and then the drone was above us and everybody was waving at it. And, people actually come who are non-Westie owners. They come and just see because it's quite a spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
And, the local cafe as well. I know the manager there. They're a local coffee roaster business. So it's not a chain. They rely on people coming to the town and coming to the seaside to have money in the till. So I like to be able to support them and encourage people to, have coffee and cake and maybe a bit of lunch when we come back.
Sounds wonderful.
I just kind of figured that, some people come 2 hours drive and some of their dogs have never even been to the seaside. So for them, it's like being on holiday if the weather's good as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's taken on a bit of a life of its own, actually, which is amazing. I end up trying to get it in the local paper and on the local radio station on their What's On section as well, and just try and tell as many people as I can, because I think if you don't tell people, there'll always be somebody saying, oh, I didn't know about that. Why didn't I know about that? So if you can tell as many people, then you make it a success, and that's what you want it to be. If you put the effort in, you want it to be a success.
Exactly.
So it's such a buzz. It's a really fun day. It's over in a flash, but everybody has a great time, and we all managed to go home with the right ones, which I always find quite amazing. Because they all look kind of the same, even though to us Westie owners, we all know our own dogs because they all look quite different together. But actually, I think we all tend to just secretly put something on our own dogs so that we know we're going home with the right ones. It's a little bit like your suitcase at the airport. You tie a coloured ribbon to it and make sure you're going home with the right suitcase. So, we all have a bit of a joke about that. I'm sure some people would rather go home with another one sometime, but it's really great fun. Yeah. So as long as we can continue it twice a year, we will. And the next one's in September. So we're looking forward to that.
Fab. And where can people find out the info? If you've got a group or a page?
Yeah, well, you said at the start, it is generated mainly by a Facebook group, which is Southeast Westie Walkers, which Sue has kindly made me one of the admins of. So you would need to join that group, just answer a couple of questions and say, yes, I'm a Westie owner. Yes, I agree to the rules, etc. And then all of the current or forthcoming events and obviously past events are all listed in there as well. So the Littlehampton Westie Wiggle is listed on the top of the events there, because that's the next one, I think, or the only one maybe that's been created recently. So that's on the 14th of September, and we're meeting at 9:30 a.m. because of the tide. So we'll set off about 10 a.m. So it's going to be an earlier start for some people if they're coming 2 hours away. But, we Westie owners, they're hardcore, aren't they? They'll just go where the Westies are. So some people come down and stay overnight in a local bed and breakfast as well. So, they're also putting money into lovely businesses in Littlehampton, which, as anybody knows, in a seaside town, that's really important.
Sure. Sounds like a fabulous day.
Yeah, it's really good fun. It's, I wake up in the morning and think, oh my goodness, it's Westie Walk Day. And, I've got my two here now as well. So I honestly think they're in charge of who comes and, vetting everybody as they come in. So they're like the welcoming committee, my two.
So you've got Fred and you've got Annie.
I have.
So tell us about how your love of Westies came about. How long have you had Westies?
Well, actually, it's almost 10 years to the day, funnily enough. Popped up on my Facebook memories the other day of the first few days that I met my first Westie, Pixie, the absolute love of my life she was. And I never realised until then that I needed a dog, and I never realised I needed a Westie. I'd only been managing the local RSPCA branch for about 3 months. So I'd always been in fashion retail management. And I left that in the spring of 2015, and I was lucky enough to be appointed as the branch manager of the local RSPCA branch, which was something completely different for me. I owned my 2 cats at the time, and around about this kind of time, so the end of July 2015, little Pixie had turned up. She'd had a couple of homes, and had been surrendered to the rescue centre. And I just happened to be looking around throughout the kennels to see who was there, as a matter of interest. I'd only been there 3 months, and I came across Pixie. And she looked so sad in the kennel. And I even then, I wasn't considering, do I need a dog in my life? I had 2 cats, so even taking on a terrier wasn't really on the agenda, to be fair. I happened to say to some of the staff, "Oh, who's that little Westie there, Pixie?" And she hadn't been put up for adoption at that point because she was quite new to the centre. So they were just letting her settle in. And they said, "Oh, that's Pixie. She's come from wherever. Oh, you need a dog in your life." They started saying to me, giving me a little bit of a poke and planting a seed. And I said, "No, I can't. I've got 2 cats. I can't take a terrier on." And anyway, I went to see her for the next few evenings and thought, actually, she's really sweet. So we took her out the kennels because they tried to take the dogs out the kennels and have them by home reception or have them in the office with them, a couple of members of staff, and get them out of the kennel environment as much as possible. So I had her in the office with me for a few days as I was working, and she just chilled out on the bed, and she jumped up and sat on my lap, and all of these memories have literally just popped up on my Facebook in the last few days.
Wow.
And on the 2nd of August 2015, which was a couple of weeks after meeting her, I decided that she needed to come home with me. And that's when my love of Westies started. So almost 10 years to the day.
Wow.
Was when I met Pixie. And subsequently now, for the last 5 years, my business has been named after her because I think, the first one you meet, and hopefully most people will say the same, they never actually leave you. You could have 10 after that, and of course they wouldn't, because they're all different. But your first one, I think, for me, was really special. Because I didn't know anything about Westies at the time. She was my first dog. I learnt how to be a dog owner as much as she learnt to be with me and living with me, alongside me. I learned how to be her carer, and we both just supported each other, and she was the most fabulous dog. So, as much as I haven't worked for the RSPCA now for 5.5 years, I met her because of working there, and our paths crossed, and it was totally meant to be. And now I'm on my 4th one.
Wow.
So, in 10 years, I've now got Annie and Fred, and they've not also been with me not really that long. In considering, how long ago I met Pixie. So, she made a huge impression on my life, and that's where my love of Westies started. And I love their characters. I love their tenacity. I love their personalities.
And Westies definitely teach owners, right? There's no doubt about it. I mean, we had Buffy for 12 years, as you know. And our love of Westies, I've loved Westies for years, but Buffy was my first Westie. And I think they teach dog owners, not so much the other way around like some people think. They teach us. They're smart little dogs.
Yeah, and they're hardy little things as well, aren't they? There's not much that phases them. Everybody will say, the Westies are very stubborn, and I know, as much as we always say as humans, oh, they're stubborn, or they're shy, or they look guilty. Obviously, we all do know that dogs actually don't have those traits in them. They don't have the ability to be stubborn, but in our eyes, it's a stubbornness because we see those kind of traits in ourselves, I suppose.
Sure.
But these two certainly keep me on my toes for various reasons. And, Pixie did too. And considering now I've on my fourth one, they've all been so different. And naively, I think when you've had one and then you welcome a second one, whether that's a puppy or a rescue, you might naively think, well, how come they're not the same? But no person is the same. Twins don't have the same personality. So why would two Westies have the same personality? They've got similar traits to them, but they've, the first one, the second, now the third and the fourth, actually, they're all so different. And that's what I love about them is you never quite, you're never quite sure as far as their individual personalities, how they're going to be. But I like that about them. In fact, I love that about them. I love the personalities, but I love the slightly unpredictable side of them, let's say, because it's fun.
That's right.
And I said this to the people that I met earlier on our walk. They just had one, and I only had Annie until last September, and now I have Fred. And it's mild chaos, but it's good fun. At the same time, he brings an element of chaos into things, but that's also a nice little challenge to have.
Keeps you on your toes.
Because of his own little quirks. Yeah.
So can we see Annie or Fred? Can we have a look?
You can. You might not get much out of them because they've been on a 2-hour walk along the seafront this morning. But here's Annie.
Oh, hi, Annie. Sorry, we've woken you up from your nap. Oh, what a cutie.
There she is.
Belly rubs.
That's Annie.
Oh, she's beautiful.
And then Fred is a little more shy. Here he
Fred.
is.
Hi, boy.
Here he is.
Oh, he's gorgeous.
He's not entirely sure what's going on in life at the moment.
Oh, they're so
a little
beautiful.
bit overwhelmed at things, but he's a good boy. There he is. Hi, buddy. Yeah, he's sweet.
So tell us about how you got Annie and Fred, Claire.
She wants to be part of it now. Well, I had Lola. When cut a long story short, but when Pixie passed away was May 2021. So she'd been quite poorly for a couple of years, on and off with some neurological problems. And I left it about 6 months after that, because for me, my first dog, you lose them and it's devastating. And at the end of 2021, I was given the opportunity through Sue, through the Westie Advice Group, to take on Lola. And Lola was much older female. It turns out she'd had quite a few homes, and a couple of rescue centres as well. So she'd been passed around quite a lot in that time, and she was at least 10 at that point. And I took on Lola. She was fabulous, very, very different to Pixie, very outspoken, very loud, very boisterous, twice the size. And it kind of made sense because I think she'd been passed around quite a lot, that actually she didn't really care at that point. She had that sort of personality. Well, I'm here, that this is who I am. And I had her until January last year, so about 2 years and 6 weeks. And unfortunately, her health declined very unexpectedly over the course of a weekend in January last year. And I lost her only a couple of days after I realised that she wasn't well. So obviously that was quite traumatic, because myself and her last mum had kept in touch, and we all expected her to live longer than that.
Yeah.
But then, very strangely, and I could probably never quite understand how, but through a group that I founded on Facebook, which is a local dog owners group that's now got 2,000 members of all breeds, a local lady, about 12 days after Lola had passed away, obviously I'd posted something in my group to say, a lot of people knew Lola, to say that she'd passed away. And 12 days after Lola had passed away, a local lady contacted me to say, we don't know whether you can help, but we need to find, sadly, need to find another home for our beloved 6-year-old Westie. And I suppose had it have been any other breed, as much as I love all dogs, I probably would have just said, well, I don't know anybody. I'll keep my ears and eyes open, but I don't really know anybody that could help.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment that she said, a 6-year-old Westie, do you know anybody that could help?
Wow.
And I instantly put my barriers up and thought, oh, I would love to be able to help, but I can't. Lola hasn't long been gone. And I was instantly resistant to it. And actually, I spoke that evening to a couple of my Westie friends, and they all gave me a bit of a telling off and said, why are you being resistant to this? As much as Lola has only just passed away, you should maybe meet her and see whether you bond and you gel together, and at least give it an opportunity to see whether it might be something you could do. So I did. And the next day I went and took, she was Molly then actually, I went and took Molly out for a test drive. And we went down to the beach and we went to the cafe that we go to. And, I did all the things that I figured that I'd like to do with her and she might like to do with me. And she came and sat on me at the cafe. She didn't seem to have any worries about her at all. She was quite happy to be away from her family that she'd been with for 7 years. And they had a toddler. They needed to find her another home because they had a toddler and terrier scenario that sadly wasn't working for them. Mm-hmm. So they were in a really awful position trying to find her a more suitable home. So 2 weeks to the day when Lola passed away, I took Molly, now Annie, home. And it was the best decision I ever made. Because if I'd said no and been still resistant to it, then this wonderful creature wouldn't have come into my life.
Oh, and she knows you're talking about her, look.
Oh, no, she really does. And that's how I came across Annie, and we've been pretty much inseparable since. She's the most, I have to show you, she's the most fabulous girl. She's my third female. She's the most fabulous girl that came into my life just when I needed it. She'll probably start barking at seagulls in the garden now. And honestly, I can't imagine my life without her, because it was the weirdest scenario, I think, out of all of that was that I've kept in touch with her last folks, and they're quite local to me. And they had told me that the April before, so April 2023, they'd actually brought her to my Westie walk.
Wow.
And they sent me a photograph of them in the picture with Molly, now Annie, and in the front of the photograph was Lola. So as it turns out, as much as I perhaps only said hello to them because there might have been another 40 people there, you can almost guarantee that Lola and Molly would have interacted at some point 10 months before Molly actually then came to live with me as my dog. So how all of that transpired is, it's like something out of Back to the Future. It's like, how would your current dog ever meet your future dog? It's written in the stars somehow, I think, really.
Definitely. I can remember seeing your Facebook post when you've met Molly.
Yeah.
And all of us, we were so happy when you said, okay, she's going to come and live with me. I think every Westie owner in that group was like, yay, jumping for joy. Because we know, those of us that have lost a Westie, exactly how tough it is.
Yeah.
So when you met her, I mean, what a fabulous story. Amazing.
Yeah. It still baffles me now, really, because one of my good friends at the time said to me, this was totally meant to be. You didn't know that on the day that Lola passed away. You were heartbroken. I was wandering along the beach on my own thinking, what do I do now? Hadn't really, in that 3 years, had time to process Pixie leaving, and then I'd lost another one. And my friend said to me, this is meant to be, how many times in that 2 years that you had Lola did somebody ask you to help them rehome or find a home for their Westie? Not once. But actually, the minute that Lola's gone, somebody is asking you for help.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, because if that had happened 6 months ago, you would have said, well, I can't help because I've got Lola. But actually, it's funny how things turn out, and you
Yeah.
can't fathom the timing of anything like that. But actually, I do honestly think that Annie was written to come when Lola left, when I
Yeah.
needed her the most. And as
Hmm.
much as that might sound hokey cokey to somebody, but I believe that is true.
Oh, I think that's true as well. That's
Yeah,
amazing. The timing, you couldn't plan that timing, could you?
no, no, not at all. And she's the most wonderful little dog. She's now on the other side of me here. She's got the warm spot where Fred was, and he's now relegated to the floor. Um, she came along at the right time, and she's the most wonderful dog. I mean, she's just a good all-rounder. You can rely on Annie to get on with everybody, every dog. She likes all food. She travels in the car. She walks well on the lead. She's just the best little girl you could
Ah,
imagine. So I'm very lucky.
that amazing story. So tell us then how you got Fred.
Well, Fred, it's funny actually, because a lot of people weirdly ask me, "Oh, are they related?" Well, apart from being 4 years apart, because Fred is 4 and Annie's 8, um, they couldn't have come from more different places, because Annie came with a kennel club registered certificate and a kennel club name, um, and Fred actually came from a farm in Wales.
Wow.
So it's sort of a similar story, but I had an elderly cat. One of my 2 cats that I originally had when I had Pixie was still alive when I had Lola. They didn't get along at all. So I think Maggie the cat was quite happy actually when Lola passed away. She had the house to herself for once. Annie came along, and they actually found a common ground. So that was quite nice to not have the stress of cat and terrier in the house. But when Maggie sadly passed away, which was last August, she just turned 17. And Sue Makepeace had put, just within a week of that happening last August, she had put a post in Westie Advice Group just to say, I have a lot of dogs that might need to come through our ranks, whether it be fostering or rehoming. If you've got a space in your home for a Westie, for whatever reason, put your hand up and let me know. And just a week or so after Maggie had passed away, I'd sort of gone, maybe me, but I'm not in a hurry. Maggie's just passed away, but I think Annie would really benefit from having maybe a younger brother. She loves all dogs. She's never lived with another dog, but she's such a good all-rounder. I think that would really work. So I do have a gap, but I'm not in a hurry. Well, anybody that knows Sue would know that she was within a week on the phone to me saying, "Hi, Claire, I've got the opportunity of Fred for you. Would you be interested?" So we had a conversation about Fred. Fred had been living with a lady in West Country, and her family, she was an older lady, and her family had, for health reasons, needed to find, not Fred's health reasons, but for her health reasons, had needed to find him a more suitable home.
Okay.
And they contacted Sue, of which then Sue had contacted me and said, would you be interested? He was 3 at the time. This was last August. So we chatted quite a lot about Fred, and Sue took him for a week because I wasn't in a position to be able to collect him. And then I met him just before Annie and I were going away for a few days. So the following week, I met Sue, and we switched Fred over in a car park just north of Brighton, as you do. And he came home to live with us. So that was the 5th of September last year. equally, I've been able to keep in touch with his last mum's daughter, which has been lovely, because the lady, his last owner, is not in a position to be understanding where he is now, but his family obviously care about where he is, and that he's being cared for, and it's really lovely that I've been able to keep in touch with the daughter and update her, and we've also met up with her recently in Dorset, so it's so nice to be able to put join the dots, I suppose, for her to be able to meet me, and equally me to meet her and show her and reassure her that Fred is doing well. He had lived quite a sheltered life with regards to training, which you would normally do with a young dog. So as he's gained his confidence, it now transpires he's quite overwhelmed at various things. So he's gone from probably having quite a quiet lifestyle to me as a dog walker having, taking him out everywhere, and he's become a little bit overwhelmed and struggled to process some things that he hasn't probably had experience or exposure to before. So I now have a trainer who's a good friend of mine, actually. She's also a dog walker, but she's IMDT trained. So we've recruited her to help train me to help train Fred. So we're now in the early stages of a training program locally, where we are rewarding for disengagement to all of his triggers, which could be anything from a man to a man wearing sunglasses. And if that man's wearing a hat and walking with a walking stick, that's probably a bigger problem. Bikes and runners and anybody in a place where they probably shouldn't be, lurking on a street corner, or it could be anything. So
sounds like you should be a police dog or something.
I know. I'm having to be on it the whole time. Okay. Fred is on a long line on every walk now, just to make sure that we can keep him safe and not allow him to practice the behaviour of running after runners and chasing bikes, etc. But bless him, he's pulling up his big boy pants every day, and he's getting on with it, and he's understanding that actually all of these things don't matter, and I've got his back on every single walk of every second of every day. So he's doing really well, considering, and we've just had to strip it back to imagining like he's a 6-month-old to 1-year-old dog rather than a 4-year-old dog.
Okay,
so back to basics. But Annie's such a good dog for him. She's such a good tonic for him that she's showing him the ropes as well, so he's really observing Annie very well, and he's learning quite a lot from her. And we're just taking him slow, at his pace, loads of reward. He loves being told he's a good boy. He's just delightful little dog. But challenges perhaps that I hadn't anticipated, but, I would want him to be his best Fred. So as much as you don't know these things will crop up, you deal with them, and you deal with them appropriately. And of course, everybody wants their dog to be the best dog they can be and happy as they can be. So, we just deal with it. So it's going really well so far.
Amazing.
But that's Fred. Yeah, he's a West Country boy. So he's a little pocket rocket, and understanding that life is actually quite fun rather than scary.
Fab. They've got such a great life with you. We look at your wonderful photos on your page. Yeah, I think they're at the beach 7 days a week, those two, aren't they? Enjoying the sunshine, having a little dip in the ocean.
If you saw the amount of sand in my car, then you would see how often we go to the beach, because it looks like the beach is migrated into my car most of the time. But we all know, don't we, that, if you've got a dog, you can't be precious about these things. But I slowly taught him, and Annie as well, we've taught him that the sea is quite nice. So Annie will go in for a swim. Fred initially was just running away from the waves, and now he just chases her down to the shoreline and goes in. He gets a little bit freaked out if he has to swim, so it's not his first choice of things to do, but sometimes he finds himself accidentally out of his depth, and he sort of swims around and goes, oh my goodness, that's too much. But he's seems a lot less scared of the sea and the water now, rather than running away from the waves. He'll quite happily go in with Annie because that looks like fun. So, he is certainly realizing that life is fun and it's good, and he doesn't need to be overwhelmed at things that he doesn't need to be concerned about.
Fabulous. So tell us a little bit about your dog walking business. When did you start that up and how's it going?
It's going really well, thank you. I started July 2020. So I mentioned the RSPCA branch before. Sadly, from there, I was made redundant at the end of 2019. And then after applying for 70 plus jobs, 70, that is, not 17, 70 plus jobs, and then COVID turned up early 2020. And of course, then people were losing their jobs, not being able to find jobs. And I had a couple of friends that ran their own business. One was a dog walking business, another chap I knew who was a self-employed window cleaner. And he, at the time, had a chocolate Labrador. So we would see each other here and there. And I was spending a lot of time wondering what on earth I was going to do, procrastinating in a local coffee shop. I had Pixie and my little rescue Yorkie Penny at the time. So we would just go and have a coffee every morning and thinking, what am I going to do? And these two friends of mine had said, why don't you start your own dog walking business? And I'd never worked for myself. And I think your instant thought is, oh, I can't do that. How on earth will I start it? What do I do? I have no clue about tax returns and all of that. It's very overwhelming, or it can be, if you've never done it before. And then I figured that I probably didn't have another option because there were no jobs cropping up. And so I started in the July. I'd had to be quite self-sufficient, actually, being the manager of the RSPCA branch, because they're self-funded branches, so you don't get anything really handed to you on a plate. You have to make all of your own posters and flyers, and you have to do a lot for yourself, and you have to learn on the spot. And now I'm not in any way an expert at anything like that, but I can do it well enough to get by and make it good. So I kind of knew how to make business cards and flyers and where to put posters, because I'd done all of that before. And I decided on the name, which is Little Pixie's Pet Care, obviously after my beloved Pixie. And I think all dogs have the ability to be naughty like pixies can be. So as far as it sort of made sense, really, rather than pixies being a belong to Pixie apostrophe S, it's pixies as in plural. So, all of my charges, dogs or cats, are really kind of, in a sense, like naughty little pixies to a degree. So that's where the name came from. Started in July 2020. It is hard when you first start your business, but I think you have to have the right footing to set off from. I think you have to build people's trust in the way that you would want somebody to do for you. And I've always thought, if I ever needed a dog walker, which I never have, thankfully, but if I ever needed a dog walker, hopefully I would find somebody that was trustworthy and I don't know, on time, prompt, reliable. And that's what I always think that I need to be, and I always am. Do what you say you're going to do, and have an open and honest and trustworthy relationship with your customers right from the word go. So
absolutely,
nothing is left to chance. No nasty surprises. Is this person turning up today or not? Nobody wants to be having a dog walker that's just very much of a lottery scenario. Do they feel like walking in the rain today? Are they turning up? So if you're going to do it, I think you do it well, and you do it really well, and you start off on the right foot. I put together all of my paperwork. I'd sought help from peers just in dog walker forums on Facebook. I'd asked for some help. Anybody prepared to help with a starting point for some paperwork or agreements. And, as much as you don't copy those things, obviously, but you have a starting point so that
Yeah, sure.
where, what needs to be included and how you adapt it to yourself. So every time I had an inquiry, we arrange a meet and greet. And nobody has any service starting without paperwork being completed, a service agreement, all the info about the dogs, privacy policy. And you had to do all of those things from the RSPCA as well. So, it taught me quite a lot being the manager there, when you do have to comply with all the policies and nobody really just hands it to you on a plate. So I was fortunate enough to be able to know where to start with quite a lot and know where to find customers. And then if you start networking with local people, local dog walkers, then they start recommending you as well. And it just built up from there. And it was a long process. It wasn't instant. I wasn't full in 2 weeks. But I have been full now for about a year, which is great.
That's
to be
brilliant.
able to say to people, I'm really sorry, I have no room. And there's a lot of people around here that operate a group walk scenario. So they have vans and they offer group walks. They'll go up on the South Downs with maybe 5 or 6 dogs. And obviously that suits some dogs and it suits those walkers to operate that kind of service. But I never wanted to do that. I wasn't interested in buying a van. I just use my car and I do mostly just one-to-one walks where I pick up that dog and take it to the beach, or I pick up that dog and we go to the park, or we walk from their house. I do walk a 29-kilo bulldog that I can't get in the car, so he walks from his house. But I don't do any group walks at all. Annie and Fred until recently were coming on a couple of walks every day with dogs that like having company and they've walked with before, but because I'm training Fred at the moment, it was sensible to take them out of that scenario so I can concentrate on Fred. That might again return to how it was before, but at the moment there's no rush to do that. But I do maybe 6, 7, 8 walks a day, so whether they're half an hour or an hour, variety of both. I do cat feeding as well before and after that when people are on holiday, so that's an ad hoc arrangement, various different customers. I've got lots of regular customers now that I've been seeing for 2 or 3, nearly 4 years, some of them. So some people come and go if they take early retirement or work commitments change and they don't need me anymore. But generally, there's enough work to go around for dog walkers around here. So even if you do have a couple of gaps, you generally don't have them for very long. And when you've been established for 5 years, people just seem to migrate to people that have been running for that long. And, I hold 5-star reviews on my Facebook and Google as well, which always helps. And it is just having that but I suppose the personality and the behaviours to say, you will get from me what I say I'm going to do. And if I'm turning up, I will be turning up. And I have good communication. We have a good agreement right from the start. This is what I'll do for you. This is when I expect you to pay me. Nobody's having any nasty surprises.
Exactly.
And I've made actually some quite good friends out of my customers. In fact, I met one of them yesterday who was an original customer of mine from nearly 5 years ago, who had golden retriever Jasper. Was one of my first customers, and I walked him 4 days a week for 3.5 years, sorry.
Wow.
And we were great buddies, Jasper and I. He passed away in April last year. He was 11.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen his mum much since, but we've always kept in contact, and we met for a coffee yesterday. And it's the first time I'd seen her since the day that Jasper passed away, because they asked me if I'd like to go and see him and spend some time with him before he went.
Oh, wow.
And it was lovely seeing her yesterday. And she said that her and her husband are thinking about taking on another retriever this time next year, probably a puppy. And they would love for me to be in that dog's life and resume a service if I've got space.
That's wonderful.
So, and she was so complimentary, and that's from somebody that I've known now for nearly 5 years, who clearly valued every single time that I went and walk Jasper for half an hour a day while she could go to work.
Yeah.
And then you suddenly realise how important you are in somebody's life, that they can own a dog and still go to work and
Exactly.
be totally fine to give you their front door key, and you walk into their house in their personal space every day and take out their most treasured belonging, their dog.
Yeah.
And I never take that for granted, never ever, because that's a big deal. I think that's a really big deal.
It really is, because we spend so much time worrying about our dogs,
Yeah,
don't we?
yeah.
You know,
And I'm
if
lucky that I think I'm lucky, I've never needed a dog walker, because obviously I can take these two with me if I want. And I was able to take Pixie to work with me when I was at the RSPCA. So I've never needed a dog walker for the length of time that I've owned a dog, for the last 10 years. But I know what I would want from a dog walker, and I hope that I am that person that they want as well. And I hope I have those behaviours. Always try to be that person that they know that they can absolutely trust 100% to do what they say they're going to do and be trustworthy. Because there's so many people that will take advantage, sadly. Say you're going to walk a dog for an hour and then you stick it in the van for 20 minutes and look at your phone. And you hear about a lot of these things, and it's really sad. But there's also a lot of great dog walkers out there, and there's a lot of people that actually just love your dogs as their own, as a dog walker. And there's far more of us that do that than the ones that don't.
yeah.
But it's really important to me, certainly running my business, that my reputation always holds that as one of the really important things to me, I suppose. And I suppose that's why I'm full, and why it has been a success. And we're not good enough. We're not. We don't do it well enough to be patting ourselves on the back, I think, most of the time. It's a trait of people never to be giving themselves praise, right? So
That's true,
sometimes it's
isn't it?
important to remember to think how well, especially when you're self-employed, how well you've actually done. And it's
Yeah,
you never remember to do that a lot of the time.
that's true, because we move so fast on to the next thing that we have to do. But
Yeah,
actually, it's a journey, isn't it?
yeah,
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 and it's so easy, as you say, to forget to take a breath and go, actually, I did quite a good
yeah,
job there.
yeah.
Mm,
And I think as well, for me, naming it after Pixie was just the best thing ever, because I say her name every day, and I have for the last 5 years, and she's been gone 4.5 now. And I say her name every day. I have her name on my paperwork, on my Facebook page for my business, on my Instagram. Her name is everywhere. And my customers will say her name when somebody says to them, "Well, who do you use as a dog walker?" And they say, "Little Pixie's Pet Care." How wonderful that my lovely Pixie, from that day 10 years ago when I first met her at the RSPCA, that actually I get to say her name every day, and other people do as well.
amazing.
And they know
What a
who she is.
legacy. That's her
Yeah,
legacy, isn't it?
yeah. And she was so strong-willed, and she was so tenacious right to the end. And I just think, if I can be that strong as a person and just move forward and do the right thing, every day that I get up and be motivated like she was, then that's job done, isn't it? You learn so much from your dogs. That's what I mean. Your first dog, then you never forget them, and you never forget their personality, because her personality drives me forward every day.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite a big deal for me.
Yeah, it is. I can completely understand that. It's amazing. Yeah,
Good.
we spoke about that earlier, how much they actually teach us.
Yeah,
That's what I've
yeah,
learned from our Buffy, not what I taught him, what he taught me.
yeah,
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 how amazing is that that yeah, our dogs have given us that gift.
yeah, yeah.
It's very
And
cool.
that's, from 10 years ago, that's an awful long time. And I never forget that first day I set eyes on her, and it could be like it was yesterday. But equally, the same for Lola, the same for Annie and Fred now. You never forget those things,
Mm.
because you make it your business to be the best caregiver for them that you can be.
And you've built and you continue to build such a wonderful community. With the Westie walks, with your dog
Mm.
business. You're surrounded by Westies and
Yeah.
Westie lovers. It's not a bad
Well,
life, is it?
Well, no, 3.5 years ago, I started a Facebook group, Littlehampton Dog Owners Group. So it's for all breeds. We've got nearly 2,000 members now in the localish area.
It's great.
And we've got lots of resources for dog owners, whether it be walkers like myself or groomers, daycare, boarders. I've got wonderful mobile vets who are in the group as well, who I use. And there's a great community of local dog owners. And even though it's for all breeds, we have a walk on the beach every few weeks as well, where people who have just moved to the area, there's lots of new housing estates coming up around here, and people have moved to the area and they don't know where to start to meet new people or to find a groomer. And I think it's really brave if somebody comes along to one of our walks and it's maybe only 20 or 30 people. It's not huge, but it's inclusive. People can come and go as they want.
Mm-hmm.
They can make connections, find out things, know about the local area, where's nice to walk, where's a nice pub to stop off on the way home, all those kind of things from people that also own dogs. And then they'll see them on the beach the next time and say, oh, I met you at such and such. So
fabulous.
That I think has been really fab as well. And some people laugh because when we do the walks, quite a few Westies come. So because I've got a lot of Westie friends in the local area, I laugh and think, it's almost turning into a small Westie walk here, because there might be 20 dogs and 6 of them are Westies. But who cares about that?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So to finish off, I'm going to take you by surprise here.
Okay.
It's a quick fire round that Alex has come up with. Okay.
Oh, blimey. Okay.
And this is on behalf of your Westies, but you're going to answer for them.
Okay.
Okay. So, ready?
Yes.
Okay. Favorite snack?
Sardines.
Walks or cuddles?
Oh, walks. Squeaky
toy or tennis ball?
Tennis ball.
Beach or countryside?
Beach.
So describe your Westie Zoomies level. Couch potato or Tasmanian devil?
Tasmanian devil for Fred.
Most used nickname besides their real name?
Hooligans.
Do they prefer belly rubs or ear scratches?
Or belly rubs for both.
When there's a thunderstorm, do they hide under the bed or bark at the sky?
Annie will bark, Fred will do whatever Annie's doing.
Secret guilty pleasure. Stealing socks, digging or stealing toast?
Oh, digging for Fred.
And Westie style icon. Neat and tidy or scruffy and proud?
Scruffy and proud. As much as they're kind of neat and tidy at the moment, scruffy and proud is better.
Okay.
But they don't like brushes, so scruffy and proud is a challenge.
Fab.
That's fun.
That's great. Oh, well, thanks so much for joining us, Claire. That was brilliant. So
You're
interesting
welcome.
Hearing your stories there. Of back in the day. It's amazing. Timing has got a lot to answer for, huh?
Yeah, it really has. And thank you for asking me. It's been just, it's been a pleasure. Really good fun.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. And we'll speak to you soon and look forward
definitely
to another one of your articles in Westies and Besties magazine.
Oh, maybe I hope so. Thank you. And
yeah,
hopefully I'll see some more people at the Westie Walk on the 14th of September.
Fab. Thanks a lot, Claire.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Take care. See you.
Bye.
Bye. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Westies and Besties podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment and tune in for the next episode. Now, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, feel free to contact us on the information below and we'd be delighted to share your story and we'd love to meet your Westies. Until next time, bye.